We're live.
All right. CABC family, happy Friday afternoon to you. John Garcia Jr. here, producer Kev in the video somewhere, depending on the
Guys,
screen. uh, Obviously, a big weekend coming up in the SEC. Not so much for Alabama, but a big weekend in the SEC. You've got LSU at Florida, Auburn at Mississippi State, a whole lot of who are we type games. Texas A&M, Kentucky. I think we're going to find out a lot about these programs in terms of where the SEC is. What is that true pecking order behind Alabama, Georgia? Who are those players in that mix? It may not matter, but we're trying to figure that out, and we will figure that out beginning with that game in Gainesville tomorrow. So we'll get to that. We'll make some picks eventually. Of course, we'll take questions, whether social media, here on the YouTube chat, what have you. But we really wanted to get going with a quick glance at recruiting, just because of the needle moving items that have rocked the recruiting world. And it begins and ends to some degree with Jaden Hazelwood, number one wide receiver in America, decommits from the University of Georgia. Everybody knew that this was a conversation that people were having. Other schools were in the mix. He'll be at Miami this weekend. Um, Georgia was looking to hang on between the Hurricanes. Auburn has had some run in the conversation. Oklahoma hosted him, I believe, for a summer official visit, but he finally decommitted from the University of Georgia. And now there's a whole lot of question marks, not only as to where he might end up, but how his decommitment can spur other kids in the recruiting process. When a five-star changes his mind, it's pretty much a big deal either way. Georgia no longer number one in the recruiting rankings. Hazelwood ending up at Georgia seems so much less likely at this point, although not impossible. He's tight with Justin Fields. He's been committed forever. He knows Jake Fromm. He knows what the Bulldogs are about. But what strikes me with Jaden is the last time I talked to him, it was at IMG Academy, and he said, "Look, I'm really watching these offenses closely." So I think that really leads it into a wider discussion. You know, if he's really watching the offenses closely, why would Miami be the surging favorite? If it wasn't Miami, the surging favorite would be Auburn. So if you're watching these offenses, I don't think the Auburn offense, especially in the passing game, leaves a whole lot of wow at this point of the season. Maybe they should throw the ball more, but they aren't at this point. So if it's just based off of 2018, you would think Oklahoma, of the schools in it, may have the advantage, but obviously he's going to take visits. He supposedly grew up an Oklahoma fan. Read into that what you will, kid from Georgia. But either way, decommitted from UGA, five-star receiver, number one receiver in the country. And for my money, he is the number one wide receiver in the country. I get a lot of questions about him and George Pickens, and I think it's very close, but I think Hazelwood is more polished at this point. And I think his recruitment could affect George Pickens. And I think that's where the conversation comes back to the Alabama side of the conversation, because we all know Bama is one of the true players for Pickens. Ironically, Georgia is as well, Florida State, Auburn, where he's committed. So I wonder how much of a domino effect this can really bring up. I mean, if Miami is not the destination for Jaden, if Auburn is that school, how does this affect Pickens? How does this affect Bo Nix, their future quarterback? I think just because they're tight and they both play for Cam Newton's 7-on-7 team, I don't think we should assume that they would love to play together. If there are two wide receivers who fit that 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", big, strong, give me the damn ball, Keyshawn Johnson style of feeling and play, it's George Pickens and Jaden Hazelwood. So I'm not sure if they would end up in the same class at the same school. So I think that's something to keep an eye on as well. But no doubt Miami has the buzz. They've got Florida State at home, rivalry game this weekend, and that's where Jaden Hazelwood will be. We'll see what the George Pickens fallout from that is. But if Hazelwood's watching 2018, you would think Bama would have some interest there. And then for Pickens, if Hazelwood does end up at Auburn, does that begin to push Pickens towards Alabama or maybe even Georgia? It could be a swap of one for the other. So I think the Hazelwood situation is one we're definitely going to keep a close eye on because of the domino effect and, potentially the effect that Bama could have on him should they re-engage in the conversation again. This is a number one receiver in the country, a teammate of a current Alabama commitment in Rashad Cheney. So you wonder what those conversations have been like to this point. So that was kind of the big needle-moving recruiting item of the week. There's a clear domino effect. Georgia has since lost another commitment with I believe, Jalen Perry, decommitting a DB just about 24 hours ago. So interesting times for the University of Georgia. For those wondering on Nolan Smith, DM'd him today. I said, everything good with UGA? And he said, yes, sir. So I didn't ask a ton of follow-ups. I just wanted to kind of get the verbatim from Nolan just to see if there was anything to follow there. So the ship has not completely sunk at UGA, but for the moment, recruiting momentum a little bit on the downswing. By the way, he's still the number one player in the country in my book after seeing him once again on Saturday. All right, Kev, anything else in the social media world or recruiting world that we need to get to before we start talking some SEC ball?
Yeah, today I located through social media former Alabama running back B.J. Emmons is in Morgantown, West Virginia this weekend. So I don't know if there was whether it's an official or whatever. I don't know. He's in Morgantown, so that's interesting. That's interesting news. I know coming out of Hutchinson in his JUCO year, West Virginia was one of the teams that was supposed to be in it. It was West Virginia, ECU, FAU, so a couple of those schools. So I know West Virginia was in it then, and they seem to be maybe during his down year. Maybe still kept in contact, and he's back there this weekend. So that was kind of interesting to see for him. And just as we talked about it last show, talking about him.
Yeah, one of the better high school performers either of us has ever seen. And obviously West Virginia's done pretty well with some former Bama guys. Vandarius Cowan, they're now sitting out. TJ Simmons is what? Their number 2, number 3 receiver for maybe the most prolific passing offense in the game, along with Bama, along with Oklahoma, Hawaii, UCF, those guys. TJ Simmons has had a big year in Morgantown, and I know they're all about the same age. So interesting parallels there for West Virginia.
And they're,
of course, Nick Saban is from West Virginia, so maybe he's hooking up the home state.
Yeah, and they're at home versus Kansas this week. So
all right,
it
might not be close.
If you want to put on a good performance for a recruit, I guess that would be a game to have your recruits come to.
Yeah, that'll work. Except for Rutgers.
And there's been also some social media news with I follow a lot of the extra stuff like uniforms and stuff like that, and they're doing a gold out in Morgantown, the all gold, the gold helmet, the gold pants, the gold everything. So
that'll look better than the blue out that's supposed to happen in Florida for LSU in town, I think.
Sounds awful. I'm not going to lie. Like, usually if you do a color thing, you either do white, black, or some form of bright color, not just we're going to do prison blue.
Like regular blue. Like
it's not even like Carolina blue or something like that. Like, it's just plain blue. Like, why? Why are you going to do that?
Why do you get the 8-pack of crayons?
Yeah, it's that blue.
The standard color. Like, there's not even a name ahead of it. It's not like a midnight blue or anything like that. Like, no, it's just blue.
Yeah, you got the regular crayon box, just plain blue.
Yeah, it's tough.
Prison blue.
And the other problem with color outs that aren't one extreme or the other, so white or black, is you get shades, right? So is this blue out going to have patches of darker blue and then lighter blue?
Patches of orange.
Yeah, some people are just going to rock their orange because they're Gators fans, right? And then you'll have the little purple and gold section.
Yeah.
That'll be cheering for LSU and tailgating the hardest. So
Gal Tigers.
Yeah. that'll be a big game. I'm sure we'll pick it a little bit later, but that'll be a pretty big deal. So interesting with Emmons. What I'm not sure of the timeline. I know he's sitting out this year. Does that make him back on the market as a recruit? Is there?
I'd imagine if he's finishing his work from Hutchinson, then this should be his graduating semester. Okay. So he should be available for spring ball, I would imagine. I reached out to him. I haven't heard anything back yet, so hopefully he'll hit me back and we'll be able to get some info from that on him. I would imagine he would be available for spring.
Very good. So the latest on potential future Crimson Tiders as well as former Crimson Tiders here on Crimson and Blue Chips. All right, Kev, do we want to move to the SEC? Anything else we need to get to?
No, not as far as anything I've found. I'm still kind of looking for stuff, but I haven't found anything better than the BJ Emmons stories. So we'll move to the SEC. We got some good games going on in the SEC this week. Obviously, we'll end it with the Bama game. So then we got Missouri at South Carolina, and the spread is Missouri -2. So are they giving that much credit to South Carolina? I just feel like that's a close. It seems like it's just a little too close for me.
Yeah, it's a pick'em game. There's a lot of games like that where they're just allowing you to make a decision.
Yeah,
on who's going to win straight up. I don't think there's not a whole lot of math going on in some of these games, some of these spreads. I think that was more of a pick'em. I don't know, man. South Carolina has not looked good really at any point.
No.
A lot of people were on them like, oh, this is the year they're gonna get Georgia and they're gonna be that second team in the East, and they have really given no indication that they're there. Jake Bentley's hurt. I'm not sure how they.
They got blown out by Georgia at home. Their only quality win was Vanderbilt. They beat Coastal Carolina. The game against Marshall got canceled due to the hurricane.
Right.
And then they get beat convincingly by Kentucky. So
how about Kentucky, man?
We keep talking about it, and I just the more and more we talk about it and the more and more I think about it, really Kentucky.
If you're an Alabama fan, you have to enjoy Kentucky. They're running the ball, playing great defense, and they've got a big, nasty offensive line. How could you not, with a defense-first head coach, how could you not appreciate Kentucky if you are a Crimson Tide fan? Because they're playing that old-school Bama ball. Obviously, a little bit less.
They're playing the type of ball that Bama fans expect Bama to play, but
right. Well, yeah, they want Bama to do that, but then they also want 5 wide and Tua going for the Heisman. So,
yeah, exactly.
Bama fans want it both ways, Kev. You know that by now.
I know.
Yeah, good for Kentucky. Really good story in the SEC, a school that not a lot of people were talking about preseason. All the buzz, for some reason, was on Mississippi State, because it always seems to be.
And South Carolina.
South Carolina, which always has the benefit of the doubt in the East. Yet Kentucky, Florida, those have been the schools. LSU's been a surprise to some. Nobody has 2 better wins on their resume than LSU, with Auburn and Miami on there. So, I think the SEC, like always, beyond Bama and even Georgia to some degree, people had it pretty much backwards. So good for Kentucky. Hopefully, for story's sake, hopefully it continues. But A&M won't be easy for sure.
Yeah, so we'll jump to that one. Kentucky at A&M and for some reason, again, Kentucky is the underdog. I get it, it's at A&M, but still, a 5-0 Kentucky is an underdog to the 3-2 Aggies, and A&M -6.
See, that's the thing. It's not only they're an underdog, but you're talking about touchdown. We just talked about small spreads. So why does South Carolina get such the benefit of the doubt, but not Kentucky? Even though, A&M's got multiple losses and really hasn't shown the ability to put up a lot of points. Arkansas held them in the 20s. Bama allowed them to get to the 20s, frankly. Clemson held them in the teens into the 20s. They haven't shown the ability once to put points on the board when facing a Power 5 opponent, and certainly when facing an SEC opponent. Yet here we are with a touchdown spread. Is Kyle Field that much of an advantage? I've never been there. I don't know. But, Kentucky's quarterback comes from JUCO. He's been around, older guy. And we all know, came from Oregon, transferred, sat out, so he's been around. And then Benny Snell, is maybe the most consistent back in the SEC through however many weeks, through 5 weeks. So wouldn't that, plus a defense, travel well on the road? I'm not sure why that spread is so big. Again, I've never been to Kyle Field. Maybe it is some life-changing experience. Maybe, but I like Kentucky to win the game and obviously to cover. Even if they don't, I don't see a way that A&M controls the game and really looks strong. I mean, they struggled with Arkansas. Arkansas gave up an opening kickoff of the game. A&M runs it back, and they end up winning by 7. So, I mean, if you take out the first 20 seconds of football, I mean, they played even football with big bad A&M. It wasn't at Kyle Field, but it was at a neutral site. So I know the hometown experience or the hometown advantage is big for A&M, but I'm still not sold on that roster. Beyond the D-line and Kellen Mond and a couple receivers, I don't think there are world beaters on that roster. And I think that Kentucky's confidence is sky high, their momentum is sky high, and they're not the type of team, in my opinion, to overlook anybody. And again, their style will travel. I think Kentucky will look the same pretty much no matter where they are, because they're going to run the ball, they're going to play defense, and they're going to keep it kind of ugly, which is going to be their formula. And that's not A&M's formula. So I don't understand that line. Maybe I'll be proven wrong tomorrow, but for now, I'll take Big Blue.
And the over-under is 50.5. So.
And I'll take the under.
Yeah, I'm taking the under all day on that. So
yeah, that'll be something, I don't know, 21-14 kind of game, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't see a ton of points.
And I'm looking at the schedules and stuff, and I use the ESPN app so I can do that. But I mean, the ESPN app has A&M favored by 68%, like a 68% chance of winning the game. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know.
Everybody's on A&M, so
that's according to the FPI, and sometimes I don't even know I don't understand that thing. So. Whatever. Ole Miss plays UL Monroe. I mean, do we really have to
bet the over? And I guess Ole Miss will win, right?
The over under is 75.5.
Oh man!
And the spread is Ole Miss minus 21.5.
You know what? I shouldn't have spoken so soon.
You got a 75.5 over under.
Vegas has just less respect than we do for Ole Miss's defense. I mean, Vegas does not care. Vegas is savage with this thing. It has no reason not to be, by the way. But I guess we're assuming UL Monroe is better than, who was it, Louisiana Tech? Who put up 40-something on them a couple weeks back?
We had that was – Southern Illinois put up 41.
Okay, it wasn't even Louisiana. It was Illinois.
Texas Tech 27. Southern Illinois 41. Bama 62. Kent State 17. LSU 45. So, I mean,
right. They
haven't really stopped anybody.
No, I mean, if that LSU offense is putting up 45 points on you, I mean, whew. It's a long night. Hey, UL Monroe, led by former Alabama running back Derek Gore, by the way, Syracuse, New York native, good guy, been around a lot. I think he has a big game against Ole Miss. Not his first rodeo against the Rebels. So I know they play a little bit more of a ground game. It might be a little slower paced than Ole Miss is used to. So that over kind of scares me. That total number kind of scares me. But I like Derek Gore personally, and I think he's a good running back as well. Give me ULM plus the 21 against Ole Miss. They're just uninspired right now.
Yeah,
we've seen inconsistencies from those receivers and Jordan Tomlin for that matter. So let's not act like they're scoring 60 a game. So Give me ULM plus 21. Ole Miss will win it, but it'll be ugly and it'll only create more questions, I would assume.
So ULM covers.
Yeah, why not?
Okay. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, home run Houston Astros, by the way, for you baseball fans. Top of the seventh, or bottom of the seventh. 5-2 Astros over Cleveland.
Go Stros. Let's see. Then we got Vanderbilt at Georgia. Golly.
Don't you guys like finding out the spreads along with producer Kev? Isn't it great? Because you get that raw reaction.
You get that raw emotion from me because good Lord.
Raw reaction. And then you get the, okay, here's the spread. Let me give it to John.
All right. So over under 54. Vanderbilt plus 27.
27. I mean, these SEC spreads, man. It's what a year. What a year it's been for spreads. 27 feels a lot. Vandy's got a good defense. It's not as good as years past. But they can also score more than they have in years past. Shermer can sling it. They don't got Ralph Webb anymore. I mean, they're more of a conventional team offensively. So I like Vandy to make some noise in this game. And Vandy has come close with Georgia over the years. They've kind of been, that team that gives them a little bit more issue than people anticipate. So 27 points seems like way too much. Take Vandy and the points. Georgia will win the game by double digits, possibly 20, but 27 just seems like a lot. That Georgia offense has not impressed me one time this year. They really haven't. The occasional big play, sure, but Jake Fromm is a safe quarterback. That running game is not what it was a year ago with Michelle and Chubb, who have been great in the NFL the last couple weeks. It's just not the same offense. That offensive line, I don't think, has been the same. So I think Vandy makes it a bit of a game early on, and Georgia pulls away, kind of like how that Missouri game went. I think that's similar for UGA. They'll win it, but they'll look uninspired once again, and people will begin to question, especially if Kentucky goes to Kyle Field and wins, who is the second best team in the SEC, or in the East, I should say. Perhaps, that Kentucky-Georgia game becomes the game of the year nobody was talking about. So I don't know when that's coming, but hopefully sooner rather than later, because that Georgia offense is not what it used to be. And defensively, they've had some loopholes as well. So I'm just not sold on Georgia right now. There's question marks at quarterback. Will Justin Fields get his shot? Maybe that's people just following the trend of these young guys getting out there. I don't know. I probably would stick with Fromm, but I know that conversation is coming up in Athens. So it's not just question marks on the recruiting situation right now at UGA. There's definitely some on field, I should say, questions there.
Yeah, you get Georgia, Kentucky in 4 weeks. No, 1, 2, 3, 3 weeks. Georgia, Kentucky at Kentucky. So.
Okay, I wish that was a little bit sooner. Apparently, I'm not loud, which if nobody's ever told me before, according to the chat. Let me turn up. Hopefully that's better, Patrick. I get into some rambling mode at times, and I'm deep in thought instead of projecting my voice. So thank you for the reminder. That's why we like the live chats, right? Guys can just kind of jump on here and let us know how we're doing, because we're not technological whizzes. So all of that information and input helps us a ton. So thank you for that, Patrick.
And then we got number 5 LSU at number 22 Florida. The over-under is 44.5, and the spread is Florida plus 2.5. So
pick 'em game.
So you're saying the swamp no longer means anything, really?
Yeah. So LSU's favored by 2.5 points at the swamp. All the Dan Mullen momentum. First of all, Florida, Mississippi State last week, the Dan Mullen Bowl. Let's not act like Florida went there and dominated. Did their defense look good? Yeah, it did. But that offense did not look good. And you could make the argument very easily that Mississippi State should have won the game not once, but twice. You lost by 7 points. You dropped 2 touchdowns, one on offense and one that should have been a pick six. It's very simple math here. So while Florida is sort of a feel-good story like Kentucky in the SEC in that it is exceeding expectations, maybe we shouldn't give the Gators that much credit compared to the rest of the league.
Oh.
I think Kentucky exposed that lack of offensive firepower that the Gators possess. LSU is kind of on a mission. They've been doing enough each week, and there's a sense that they have played that underdog mentality up to a T all off season into this year. The defense, you know what you're going to get. Florida's running game isn't what it used to be. I don't know if Felipe Franks is going to beat you. Certainly, he did not go out there and beat Mississippi State. Heck, their only touchdown was a double pass. So Felipe Franks did much of nothing. Now, he didn't turn the ball over a bunch, even though they did drop a pick six. But he didn't change the game on his own. And if there's one thing LSU is still good at, and if there's one thing that is still LSU from the conventional thought, it's defense and it's NFL guys on that side of the ball. So I think if they know you have a weakness, like it is perceived with Felipe Franks and that offense, I think they can still expose it. I think that keeps the game low scoring, and they have enough playmakers on offense to get the job done. So that spread doesn't scare me at all. 2.5 points, not much to lay there. So I'll take LSU minus the 2.5. They win that game by a touchdown, maybe even 10 points. I think LSU is kind of on a mission until something goes down on November 3rd. Until that point, I think LSU is really going to be the give Coach O the Coach of the Year trophy team of this year.
Yeah, I definitely think LSU handles that game. I still not sold on Florida, not sold on Felipe Franks or Dan Mullen for that matter. I mean, yeah, they're 4-1, blah blah. But I mean, their wins are Tennessee, Colorado State, Charleston Southern, Mississippi State. I mean,
right, and they could have easily and probably should have lost that game last week.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I mean, just not sold on them.
And at the same time, if they win, then they'll start to get that benefit.
Yeah, if they go out and beat LSU, then okay, maybe Florida's for real. Even as hard as that is to think or say, Florida might be for real if they go out and beat LSU, and then then maybe that Florida-Georgia game. I mean, so who knows? Now we'll move to the first-ranked tied at Arkansas. Over under 57.5. And Arkansas plus 35.5.
I mean, it's just you're not going to get me to pick plus 30 plus in the conference. It's not going to happen. So from the beginning, I'm picking Arkansas in terms of the points. 35.5 too. So not only are you saying Bama's going to win by 5 touchdowns, you're saying they're going to win by more than 5 touchdowns. That's just a lot to ask. Is Arkansas good? No. Are they getting better? I think so. They surprised some people. It's funny because everyone gives Jimbo Fisher and A&M like such clout, right? But then they struggle mightily and barely get by Arkansas, and nobody beats them down for it. They don't suffer the consequences for a game like that. And that's Arkansas's latest showing. And like I said earlier, I mean, they give up a touchdown on the opening play of the game. That doesn't happen, and it's an overtime type game. So I think Arkansas is headed in the right direction. It's taken a little bit longer than maybe Chad Morris thought, but that offense, they've changed quarterbacks. It's like a new life kind of situation. They got the Boyd kid at running back who people saw last chance U. He's a good player, type of guy, who can hit the edge a little bit, stretch the field, which is, again, something that nobody's really tried to do against Alabama. Nobody has committed to, Alabama's offense is so explosive that it's going to start receiving the treatment that Alabama used to try to do against other people Run the football to slow that puppy down. Run the football to keep Tua Tagovailoa off the field. At some point, somebody's going to commit to it and have some type of success. I know Louisiana Lafayette had a lot of yards, but it was misleading. They didn't ever control that ball game. So I wonder if Arkansas comes out and kind of plays keep away a little bit. Doesn't mean they're going to score a bunch of points. It doesn't mean that they're going to have the lead or anything like that. But perhaps it keeps Tua off the field some, and the game is a little bit more respectable, certainly than Las Vegas thinks. 35 and the hook just seems like a ton to me. Give me Arkansas plus 35.5. Bama wins the game easily, comfortably, all of those things. But I just don't think you go to Fayetteville and get that kind of onslaught. It just doesn't seem possible. And let's remember, when these backups have come in, some of these other offenses have scored. And when the Bama backups have come in, the offense has stalled to a large degree. No disrespect to my boy Mac Jones, but that's been what's happened. So if Jaden Waddle's not there to go 94 yards last week, how many points is Bama scoring late in that game? Probably none. And that's UL Lafayette. So I think Arkansas's got more talent. I know they have more talent. And I do think maybe they try to run the ball and they try to hit the edges a little bit more than others have been willing to try against Alabama. And maybe it keeps the score down a little bit.
Yeah. It's over on, or what's your odds on Tua playing fourth quarter? Happen or no?
No, their defense is not very good. I thought Kellen Mond kind of bailed them out a little bit last week. I actually just watched that game today. Kellen Mond didn't play very well against Arkansas, kind of kept them in it, threw an interception early. I think Bama doesn't have that same issue with Tua. I think he's able to score very early. Jalen Hurts gets plenty of run here, and Bama's got a 3-score lead heading into the fourth, which means Jalen / Mac-10.
Mac-10, baby. So that wraps up SEC play. We'll do a couple of the top 25, bigger top 25 games. What about the Red River shootout / rivalry, whatever you want to call it?
We could say shootout on this podcast.
Yeah, we'll say shootout because we're American.
We're adults.
So Red River shootout at the Cotton Bowl, Texas, Oklahoma. Oklahoma is favored. The over-under is 60.5, and Texas +7. So you're saying it's going to be a 60.5 game, but there's only a point difference of 7? That's a lot of points.
Yeah, they're disrespecting that Oklahoma defense to some degree. And look, maybe they deserve some of it, but this game is different. We know we're going to talk about other rivalries, I'm sure, today and the rest of the year. Really, this game is different. If there's a game where Oklahoma's defense looks like it has NFL guys, it's always against Texas, right? It's never the Baylor game or the West Virginia game. It's the Texas game where they ramp it up a little bit and maximize that ability. And I think that happens again this year. Kyler Murray is on a mission. It's like he knows, hey, look, this is my last ride. Then I'm going to go play for the Oakland A's and make all this money. So let me just let it all hang out. And it's creating ridiculous point totals. He's, I don't know if there's a better athlete possible at quarterback than a legit 4.4 MLB base stealing outfielder, whatever you want to call it. And he can throw it, obviously. So he's comfortable now in this Lincoln Riley offense. Remember, he's been in this offense for a while as well. Texas has been a nice story. They stumbled out of the gates, but have really turned things around, and I applaud them. I didn't pick them against USC. I don't think I picked them against TCU, and here they are with only one loss on the resume. But I think Oklahoma has too much firepower. Like I said, the defense will rise to the occasion when it's needed, and I think Oklahoma wins this bad boy by 10 points or more. I think it's a solid win for that side of the Red River shootout. I don't know about that total. I think it's a little lower. I think I'm somewhere in the 31-21 range. So that's what, 52 points. That's kind of where I am with this game. Could Oklahoma score a couple more touchdowns and really widen it out? Probably, but I would lean a little bit towards the under. But I'm definitely taking Oklahoma minus the 7. Comfortable with that number.
All right. So then let's talk about – all right. Number 4, Clemson at Wake Forest.
Is Trevor Lawrence playing? Is that confirmed?
Yeah, from what I've heard, yes.
Yes, okay. So that plus Wake Forest not being as defensively stout as most people will assume they are.
Yeah, they're allowing almost 32 points a game, which they were supposed to be one of the top defenses in the country. So over-under is 61, Wake plus 20.
Definitely under. How is that total higher, around the same as Oklahoma, Texas? I don't get that. Both of those offenses are clicking right now better than these two offenses. The freshman quarterback for Wake Forest is another really nice story, but this will be a rude day for him.
Yeah.
That defensive line is chomping at the bit. That defensive line is so good that Xavier Thomas doesn't play a lot. I mean, it's crazy. And Wake Forest doesn't run the ball very well. So pretty much one-dimensional stuff, which Clemson can combat. And if they couldn't, they got exposed a little bit against Syracuse. So I just don't see that happening 2 weeks in a row. Trevor's back. Dabo and those guys know that they escaped and got handed a happy birthday by my alma mater. So I don't think that looks the same 2 weeks in a row. I think they run the football, ease Trevor Lawrence into the game, and that weak Wake Forest defense gets exposed a little bit. Clemson wins this thing very easily, 20 plus, I think. But I do not like that total. I would take the under there.
All right. I'm sorry, we didn't talk about Auburn, Mississippi State.
Oh yeah, those guys.
Auburn, Mississippi State, over under 44, Mississippi State plus 4.
Okay. Mississippi State's defense is really good. I think that's clear. Auburn's defense
13 points a game.
Right. Auburn's defense might be better.
Allowing 12 points a game.
So, and I didn't look that up. Look, this Mississippi State offense has looked like hot garbage the last couple of weeks. Kentucky and Florida have looked like the 85 Bears out there against Nick Fitzgerald and company. I don't know if he hasn't rehabbed all the way from the leg injury or if he's got another injury we don't know about, but the man can't throw the football right now.
And he doesn't move as well as he was last year.
Right. He's not moving as well. And the breakout game from Kylan Hill against Kansas State that got everyone excited, where has that been the last couple of weeks? You know, if Kylan Hill, who's had a chip on his shoulder since high school because he was in the same state as Cam Akers and got none of the attention, if he's supposed to be that guy and that good, I think that should have been apparent by this point. And it hasn't. You know, he had the 200-yard game. That was his breakout and really nothing since. So I think that they become one-dimensional because of that, and that one dimension isn't a strong one. At least Wake Forest, who we just talked about, that one dimension is pretty good. They've got good receivers. They can sling it out there. We saw them put up, 40 on Boston College or whatever. Wake Forest's one dimension is solid. Syracuse's one dimension is really good, but not this one for Mississippi State. What is that? 1 touchdown in the last 2 games? I mean, this is college. You know, you're not supposed to play like that. You're not supposed to have runs like that in the conference. And Auburn needs a statement. They've treaded water on offense the last couple of weeks. The defense has carried them. So I feel like all of that comes together a little bit more for Auburn. So give me the Tigers. I'm not worried about the points. What was the total for that one?
What was the total?
The total for Auburn at MSU.
44.
44. That MSU offense gives me nothing. I don't feel comfortable anywhere against that Auburn defense. It'd be a surprise if they found the end zone more than once. I think Auburn wins this game somewhere in the 27-7 range, so that would make me take the under. I feel like I'm being conservative with all these unders, but these last few just kind of stink to me. I think Auburn wins comfortably. Mississippi State is not very good, even though they were hyped up as usual. I think Auburn reminds everybody of that, and we stop talking about the Bulldogs.
Yeah, definitely.
Egg Bowl will be fun, though, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. We'll move to the game day game of the week. The number 6 ranked Fighting Irish at the number 24 ranked Virginia Tech Hokies. The fact that they're still ranked is weird. So over under 55. Virginia Tech plus 6.5.
Yeah, we thought Virginia Tech's defense was really good watching them beat FSU week 1, but we've learned a lot about FSU since then. We learned a lot about Virginia Tech since then. It's a Jekyll and Hyde team. They dominate Florida State. They lose to Old Dominion, and then they beat an undefeated Duke. I mean, it's a weird team to track right now. I don't trust the numbers with them, but I do know that Kevin's sleeper team of the year has become a favorite in a hurry. This Ian Book-led Notre Dame offense is different. They got the kid Dexter Williams back, even though Brian Kelly never really said why he missed a bunch of games. But he's a Florida boy. He can run that rock, and they made Stanford look pedestrian last week. And I think they do the same sort of thing to Virginia Tech. The spread doesn't scare me, and the over doesn't scare me here. Virginia Tech has scored points in every game. It's their defense that is the misleading, we always think they have a good defense type of unit, so we give them the benefit of that doubt. I wouldn't give it to them in a normal game. I certainly am not going to give it to them against Notre Dame. I know ESPN has to hype this game up because they're going to be there, and it's the Saturday night game, whatever. But it's not going to be a good game. It's not going to be a good game. Virginia Tech is overmatched on defense, which we don't say a lot, but this year that's going to be the thing.
Yeah, and I take that back. Game day is going to the Red River Shootout, but this is the primetime game on ABC.
Yeah, this is the game we keep hearing that damn Imagine Dragons song on TV with. Yeah.
So that's Virginia Tech has, like you said, has been Jekyll and Hyde. I can't quite put my finger on it. They looked great against a Florida State team who we now, like you said, have learned so much about. And then they play a couple of fluff games, and then they lose to ODU, and then they beat undefeated Duke. So I don't know. I'm still rolling with my sleeper in Notre Dame. I think they win it pretty easily. And so that's our top 25 roundup. There's not really many.
Is Miami not ranked?
Yeah, but I mean, they're playing Florida State, so.
Oh, you mean top 25 versus top 25? Type.
No. I was just looking at top 25 games, period. But
gotcha.
Okay, the 17th ranked Hurricanes play the 3-2 Seminoles, and the over/under is 48.5, and the spread is Florida State plus 13.5.
Ooh, I like the over from the beginning. I don't think either defense is as good as it has appeared. Well, has the FSU defense appeared to be good? I don't know, but I don't think is as good.
They flashed.
North Carolina game was a bit of a fluke. I mean, that North Carolina team is horrible.
Oh yeah,
Larry Fedora might be out of there. So I don't put a ton of stock in that. I do think that it'll be closer than people realize. It's a rivalry. We talked about it with Texas, Oklahoma, right?
Yeah.
So if the Oklahoma defense rises to the occasion in that game, typically, I think the Florida State offense will rise to that occasion at some point. But, and this is a big old but, this FSU team is different in every way. I don't think it's trustworthy on any line, especially defensively. So 13.5 feels okay from the Miami side. But I do think that the offense at FSU will look better because I don't think the defense at Miami is as good as it has seemed. Is the D-line very good? Yes. But it's more in that Texas A&M range for me. It's not quite the Auburn, Bama, Clemson D-line status. So I think that Florida State, if it could throw the ball some, could find some holes in that back seven. I don't think they're equipped to prepare or to play the pass as much. So I think FSU does score some points, but I do think Miami wins the game. High scoring game, but 13 and a half, not too much to ask with this Florida State team, unless they're ready to shock the world. So maybe I'm not looking into this one enough, but I think Miami wins somewhere in the 41-31 range, which should actually have the Seminoles covering. So I should take that back. Maybe 41-27, something like that, where there's a lot of points, but not necessarily a very close game at the end. I do think the first half will be fun. Hopefully there's some pregame shenanigans or something like that to make it more interesting. That's why we watch rivalries, right? We want to see it. But I'm not sure.
Turnover chain in the book bag this week.
Can you put the chain in the book bag and then throw it all away?
Yeah. I mean, I wish.
Yeah, just throw it all away.
Throw the $98,000 turnover chain in the $500 book bag and just call it a day.
A little bit of a price difference there.
Yeah. Well, just the fact that
who needs a $500 book bag?
Yeah, I was about to say the fact that you spent $500 on a book bag, and the Kane spent $100K on a Sebastian pendant necklace is beyond.
I wish the folks could see your face right now. It's fantastic.
It's beyond me. So,
yeah.
On that note, those are the only ones that I felt like were even worth talking. We got a lot of games against unranked teams this week, so those are the top 25 games I felt like. Questionnaire-wise, I haven't seen any on social media. I'm just rechecking to make sure, but have not seen any on social media. We also haven't been asking as much, so that's probably on us.
Yeah, well, somebody did say that we've got some withdrawal, so
yeah,
Rafael Monroy, we got you. We got you back.
It's definitely on us. I know we both had a lot going on this last week.
Yeah, we do have a question in here in the comments on the live show.
Yeah.
Devin wants to know about that Auburn offense.
I know I've watched it. I'm sure you have too. Where's the Auburn offensive line? That Auburn offensive line is just hasn't been present. We talked about it. We talked about it before. Offensive line not being present, offensive line's not present, offense isn't going to play well. I think that's been their big issue. That way, protecting Stidham and in the run game, I just think that, their offensive line has struggled.
Yeah, their skill guys have turned over a lot, too. Not only did you lose a bunch just from last year's team, Kerryon Johnson go to the NFL, all of that, but guys have transferred, guys have been injured. Your top running back, Boobie Whitlow's injured right now. So I think they've had a personnel issue. They've changed centers already. There's been a whole lot going on with the Auburn offense. And I start to wonder with Gus, can he run an offense where the quarterback should be throwing it more? The defense, the Auburn defense has bailed them out time and time again over the last 2 seasons, right? And when Auburn has looked good early against LSU this year, certainly against Alabama last year, even against Washington at times, they were throwing the football. Why won't Gus commit to that? I know it's a power spread. I know that's the foundation, but you got to adjust at some point. You got to adjust based on personnel. They signed a great wide receiver class last year. A bunch of those freshmen are playing. And the O-line's not great, so run the quick game and put Jarrett Stidham on the perimeter. Give him some options. He ran the ball well against Alabama last year. Allow him to do some things on his own. Allow the game to be in his hands just a little bit more. I think that would be a way to get a big lead against Mississippi State and a way to kind of re-energize that offense, because not putting up a bunch of points against Southern Miss at home is not a good look. We know that they've kind of been up and down since that loss to LSU, since the second half against LSU. So Auburn needs a spark. They need something to come back around. The defense is there, and the defense has kept them there, but I think they need an offensive spark. And how could you not go to maybe the most important player in the SEC preseason anyway, with Jared Stidham. Go with him. He's been around. He's a good athlete, good arm, and you got weapons. Utilize them. There's 7 or 8 good receivers on that roster. Throw that thing around, protect those O-linemen, help build their confidence, and then you counter with the running game. I don't know if it's not in Gus to do that, but I think if he ever was thinking about doing it, it should be right freaking now. Get that passing game going so that people are scared of the Auburn offense again. Because when Gus is rolling, that's what it is. People are afraid of that offense. But right now, Kentucky, Mississippi State, Auburn, a lot of these teams look similar. Florida, with how they're winning games and staying in games. Defense first and enough offense. Well, Auburn's never going to win the SEC with enough offense. They have to have an exciting, explosive offense. So I think you roll the dice and you try to go all in with that as soon as possible to reinvigorate everybody and build up to the Georgia game and obviously the Alabama game, which always define Auburn's season.
Yeah, I think and it's been one of those things with Gus where he just, I don't know, like you said, I don't know if he doesn't want to deviate from that power, that spread power. Like I don't know. He's confusing sometimes, and I think he doesn't necessarily. He has an identity, but I don't think that he is very good at adjusting that identity, and you got to adjust to what you got, and they're not doing a very good job of it this year.
Yeah, their personnel is built around a workhorse of some sort. Cam Newton, Nick Marshall, Trey Mason, Kerryon Johnson. If that guy's not there, which it doesn't appear that he's on that roster, at least right now, you have to adjust. Be a player, be by committee. Look at Alabama, right? Running back by committee, wide receiver by committee. It can be done, and you could still have an explosive offense. Not one of these Bama receivers is going to be first-team All-American, I don't think. Same thing at running back. There's too much distribution. There's too much distribution right now, which is great for the Alabama offense, but it's like Gus can't adjust towards that. So, I hate to say it to them, but look to Big Brother and check them out. Check them out and see what they're doing and go off of that some, because you do have a quarterback who seems capable of something like what Alabama has done, at least to some degree. So utilize that and catch up, because if not, the Auburn defense can't hold up forever. So.
And like I said, I didn't see any on social media, so there's not any more in the chat, which I don't think there is.
Yeah, we could start wrapping up. I got to head over to a high school game tonight, Friday night, football.
So you said you're going to Plant High School?
Tampa Plant, home of William Putnam, one of the top prospects in the state of Florida. Fans of this podcast will be interested because he's considering some enemies of the Crimson Tide: Florida State, Auburn, and Clemson. So 3 teams that Alabama has had a lot to do with over the last couple of years. Those are the top 3. Miami's a bit of a dark horse. So looking to see him in action. This is a top 100 prospect, tackle or guard. We just talked about a bunch of offensive lines underperforming, so I'm always excited to see the big guys work. Saw Evan Neal last week. I'm probably a little bit spoiled, but let's see how William Putnam compares to him, and we'll have all of that at 24/7 Sports for sure.
All right, sounds good.
All right, Kev, get you some rest. Enjoy the college football weekend, folks. We'll see you at some point very, very soon. Crimson and Blue Chips for producer Kev. I'm John Garcia. Garcia out.